I think, first of all, any road trip is tough in the Big 12, and in particular, West Virginia is a really tough place to play. It's a long trip, and there's just a toughness to all of the league teams on their home court, and I just expect this to be exactly what it always is against West Virginia. They're very physical. They can really score the ball in a lot of different ways. Their perimeter players are just terrific, and their bigs know what their jobs are. So I think this is one of, in my opinion, his best teams since I've been back, and I expect it to be a pretty big battle.
Coach, what is it about Morgantown, though, for you guys? You guys seem to, have a pretty good success rate over there for these last couple of times, for sure. What is it about that place for you guys?
Well, I think we went a really long stretch where we didn't win. I remember, I don't know, several years ago, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, was our first win in Morgantown ever. And we've been fairly successful there the last few years. But, again, I mean, he's had injuries, lack of depth, and he does not have that right now, which I think is why this is one of his best teams.
Coming off the TCU loss, two pretty tough road matches this week. What did the team show you in Iowa State, and how did you feel they responded to TCU?
I thought they responded really well to the TCU loss. It was obviously very disappointing to all of us, in particular because it was on our home court. And I thought it would be a big character test for us, not necessarily whether we were going to win or lose at Iowa State, but how did we play? And how competitive were we? What was our approach to that game? And I was very pleased with that. I mean, they had just had a huge win in Lubbock, which, I mean, as we can see the league scores, it's going to be an interesting year. And it was a surprising, the margin of their victory in Lubbock. So they were playing really well. And I think for us to go in there and defend them the way that we did and respond even to their first quarter run when the game started was really big for our, not for just for our confidence, but just for our mental toughness. Very big.
Coach Joyner was saying that one thing she feels like the team needs to do better at is getting off to better starts.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel the same way? And why do you think that it's been so tough for them to get off to the starts that they would like to get off?
I think there's been various reasons. I mean, we went 5 games once we settled on a lineup where we played really, really well. And I thought that was the difference in why we were playing well, was really how we were starting, what our confidence level was at the beginning of the game, and for whatever reason we weren't ready to play against TCU. And, you never know. I mean, it could have been first game jitters. The hangover from Christmas. I mean, I don't really know the answer to that, but we're doing a better job of preparing ourselves in practice since that loss. And I do believe that just your preparation in practice builds your confidence. I don't think that you just walk on the court on game day and become a confident player or team. I think you have to build that in practice. And I feel like we're doing a better job. We've kind of reset ourselves since the loss back to what we were doing when we had that stretch of good games. So, I mean, I expect us to start off. I mean, Iowa State we didn't, but I think that was a little bit of some jitters from the loss. But preparation's been good. I'm pleased with what we've done to get ready for West Virginia. Again, it may not translate on the road, but I think that this team in particular, when they prepare well, it usually does translate in the games.
Karen, did you catch much of the Baylor UConn game last night? And what's kind of your overall thoughts on the entire landscape? There's only 2 undefeated teams left, obviously. A few number ones have fallen this year. What's kind of your thought about the overall landscape this season?
I didn't catch the game. I was actually listening to Jamel Hill on campus at the Black Athlete Student Summit, which I thought was fantastic. And I do want to say up front that I really appreciate what Dr. Moore and our university is doing to support that event. It is phenomenal. If you don't know anything about it, you should check it out. But it has been a phenomenal event on our campus for student athletes, and in particular African Americans. And it's just, I really enjoyed that. So got home a little bit late, started watching film, and did not see any of the game, to be honest with you. But as far as your question about the landscape, I think that you're definitely seeing some more parity than we've probably ever seen. And is that going to translate in the NCAA tournament? Still remains to be seen. But it has been entertaining. I'm sure that was an entertaining game last night. And I just think that there are better players across the country. They're making decisions to go different places now, and I think that there's just become much more competitiveness in all the leagues, and definitely I would even say that just from the standpoint of players are going to mid-majors now. I mean, they're going where they want to go, and I think that, again, the NCAA tournament will tell us whether it's for real or whether players and teams are just letting their guard down at certain times, but it sure looks like there's going to be an entertaining tournament somewhere down the line.
How about Ty Neese for West Virginia coach?
How about her?
How do you?
I thought she graduated is what I'm trying. When is she going to leave?
Yeah.
Man, what a talent. I mean, she is, people in Austin saw her have a pretty good night against us last year, and impossible to stop. And your job as a primary defender on her is to make shots as difficult as you can. Secondary defenders need to help as much as possible, but I think, again, what makes them so difficult this year is depth. She's not the only person they have on the perimeter that can score. She's not the only person that really can get a bucket when things are not going good, and I think that was their struggle last year a little bit, just lack of depth and depending maybe too much on her day in and day out. And they, as talented as she is, they have way more than just her.
When you said mental toughness earlier, do you feel like you have the team that can stick their chest out and just bully people inside and outside and be aggressive? And that's another way that this team's capable of playing mentally, is just be stronger and tougher. And you see what I'm saying?
No, I do. I think we have the physical capabilities. Depth is a concern. I mean, it will be a concern the rest of the year, but I think the emergence of Jada's versatility and Audrey's return back to our team helps. You feel a little bit more comfortable with and I think Shay's getting better. I feel more comfortable with the fact that we have the young guys are really starting to get their feet on the ground. But back to the mentality, that's exactly what it is. And until this group decides that they want to have that tough mentality every single night, I thought we were getting there, and I was very disappointed with our approach to the TCU game. And again, maybe that was nerves, first game out. You never know how players and teams are going to respond to that very first game. Some really relax and let it hang out and know that it's the first one, and some get a little bit tentative. And I thought we looked tentative in that game. But I also think we didn't practice well before the game. So I think as long as the leadership can stay solid, and I will say that one of the things that I have to adjust to as a coach is we're dependent on our seniors, very obviously. I mean, we have a gap without any juniors. And they've performed pretty well for us in the last 5 or 6 games, but I think the thing that I have to recognize, and we all do as a coaching staff, is, what are they having nights where it's not going very good? And if they're not, I need to sort of infiltrate the young guys and just kind of let them go. And I don't think I did a great job of that in the TCU game. I probably didn't recognize that the seniors were struggling, and I think the young guys have built enough confidence in our coaching staff and their teammates that I need to sort of jumpstart our team a little bit when things, because if you look at our losses, that's been the struggle, and our losses are just, not really being who we can be. And I don't want to say that we don't have the right mental approach. I just think there's nights, as you all know, that players just don't have it. I mean, we play a lot of games, and that's where depth is so good. is if you don't have it, there's someone else to put in. And I think that I've got to just put my trust in those young guys just a little bit more and play a more balanced group. And I'm intending on doing that.
Going back to the summit, do a lot of your athletes go, and is that something that you stress to your athletes, especially the black
Yeah.
ones, that, hey, you should take advantage of this opportunity since it's literally in your backyard?
No question. I mean, Dr. Moore and I have a great relationship, as he does with all of the coaches in our athletic department. And I mean, I just think that it's a tremendous opportunity, as there have been others, for our student athletes to be around their peers. To me, is the most important thing of all. There were some tremendous guest speakers. There were great sessions, breakout sessions for the student athletes. But to me, the biggest impact was all of the students that came from other schools across the country. And, you know, what kind of interaction can you have? What struggles are they having at school XYZ? And how can they sort of build bonds together to increase leadership, not only in the African American and the black community, but just as student athletes and as students at different universities. And I think that's what is so impressive about this event. I mean, obviously we're in season, we're practicing and all of those things, but I made it a really big point to give them the schedule and try to schedule practice around what sessions I thought they would be interested in. I mean, they had a wonderful opportunity to meet Jamel last night and have a little Q&A, you know, in a private setting, just to say hello and have her give them some advice as a female broadcaster, a female journalist, and it was pretty unique. You know, we've had a couple of opportunities where I think our kids have been able to meet fantastic women that are role models, not only for us, but the entire country, and I think Jamel is one of those. So I would encourage anybody that, you know, doesn't know about this to kind of tune in a little bit, because it was a pretty great event.